Alright, this is the only MPC tutorial you're ever going to need. This is my theory. All the information is already out there. So if you're looking for a tutorial, this isn't the video for you. What I'm going to give you is an artist to artist talk. This is the real. There's all these courses and all these things that you can actually tune into, which might benefit you. But the only thing that's going to benefit you starting out as an artist is the time you spend with your machine. The MPC, I have the MPC 1, is a very powerful machine. It changed my whole world. Literally flipped it upside down. More so where I needed time to even process what was happening. I didn't start off in music. I started off as a photographer, turned, digital art creator, where I would mix my photography with, Photoshop and playing with pictures. And then I started taking pictures of textures, which turned into me mixing my pictures of, let's say, graffiti and throwing them on top of a portrait. In that art experience, I had a revelation as well. It was the same revelation I had with music, which it was more so like an out-of-body experience. And I've heard of plenty of artists who, have these experiences where, you have this surge or rush of energy and ideas and, life-changing moment for you where you want to run and tell all your friends and your family and get all the latest equipment and, get a studio and do all of these things, which is great. But when it comes to this music and when it comes to the MPC, this is what I've learned. I've had a great mentor, Tequila Nylon. He was the sole person who introduced me to the MPC. I think at the time he had an MPC Live. And, even touching the machine when he introduced me to it was crazy. I'll share that story later at some point. And he had like 30 years of experience. He has 30 years of experience with the MPC, with multiple MPCs, all the way to the 2500 to the current MPCs. And, basically, what I realized early was he could only teach me so much. And that I actually had to spend time with my machine. So you can get all the tutorials you want, but it all boils down to time. How much time are you willing to spend? This is the most important thing that I learned for myself. And hopefully this helps you. Finding your tempo, your BPM, is going to be the best thing you can do. The quicker you can find it, which it probably won't happen quick. But if you want something quick, find your BPM. For me, finding my BPM and my range, I start off at my MPC is programmed to 150 BPM. I start off at 150 BPM almost every beat. But usually what I've realized, if I haven't made beats like, let's say, in a week, I go up in BPM. So I might start at 160, 170, all the way to 190. And for me, my process, that's just because I'm anxious. I'm anxious to just hit the pads and just get running quick. Hence the higher BPM because you're going faster, but it's double time. So finding your BPM, is going to be was my biggest challenge. It was that and then the 808 after that. So finding your BPM to me was repetition. It was repetition. It was, year 2, I would probably say. I've been making music, I think, for 6.5 years now, maybe 7. But year 2, I was like, okay. And I remember calling Alex or Tequila Nylon, and I'm like, man, I like this 150 BPM. I just like it. I feel comfortable here. And the best advice he said to me, he said, ride that motherfucker. Like, just ride the wave. And honestly, I was like, you know what? I'm comfortable here, which is, it's a blessing and a curse. But I rode that wave for about a good year, and it made me so comfortable and confident because I started to make the music that I wanted to make. It's so easy to start looking out and not looking in when you're making music. And the best advice I can give to you is look within. Like, yeah, you're going to have all the influences, all the music you've ever heard, and styles. You're going to want to create some of that stuff. But honestly, I would say go with the beat. Go with the style. It's so easy to want to appeal to a tight beat and what everybody else wants you to sound like. But what do you want to sound like? Is the most important thing you can do for yourself. Because once you master that, it's going to sound great to everybody else. And if it doesn't, that's okay. It'll be something that, is just out there for you. It's a timestamp. But as many people as there are, somebody's going to like it. And regardless, like I said, at the end of the day, it's for you. That's all that matters. So that BPM is crucial. It's crucial. After I found my BPM, it was the 808. Basically bass. Bass was like, I don't know. And bass was like a placement thing for me. We did a project called Lord of the Arcs, where Tequila Nylon, he actually came out from Alabama. He came out to Indianapolis. I'm from Chicago, but he came out here to see me. And I had just built out my studio, and I'll put a picture up so you can see the studio. But I had just built out the studio, and my speakers, my monitors were set right, for most part. But my sub was too low. First off, it was way too low. And just having him in the room, because he's built out his studio as well. He has like 4 basically studios. But he built out his main room with, like the acoustics and all that good stuff. And he came in, we played some music. He's like, man, you need to turn up your sub. Because what was happening, I couldn't hear my 808s. I couldn't hear my bass how I wanted to hear it. So sometimes it's little tweaks like that if it comes to bass, it just might be having a sub closer to you, maybe turning it up or putting it in a different spot in the room. And that really, really helped my bass. Of course, like, I still, sometimes I hear my 808s or my bass line and I'm like, man, it could definitely be better. But that's just going to come in time and maybe switching up patterns, sometimes like, I feel like I do the same drum patterns or, I kind of start off the same, but, I'm really just trying to make a end product at the end of the day and go with what I feel. I'm not, if the room shakes, great. If it's the best, all right, great. If it's okay, that's all right as well. At the end of the day, it's like, I try not to hold myself back from creating what's in front of me. I've seen a lot of people touch this machine, or a lot of artists in general, where they try to force, let's say, the narrative of the direction. And true art, in my opinion, is made spontaneously. True art is made, off of the whim. It's not having all the pieces together and you just make whatever, you make whatever it is within that room, within the space. You just make something happen. And as a photographer, like I had this niche about me where, I would show up with, maybe not the least amount of equipment, sometimes the most equipment, but it was what I did with that equipment and how I handled the equipment. A lot of people baby their, equipment. They want to know everything, all the ins and outs about it. In the MPC, just like a camera, but the MPC in particular, there's so many ways you can go. And, each teacher is going to be different, right? So you have to find that teacher if that's what you're looking for. But as long as you know how to go from track 1 to track whatever 10, track it out, basically the basics, and how to make a beat, how to put a sample in, how to stem stuff out, which, you know, you can learn that in probably less than an hour. Like, once you know that, like, you're basically off to the races. You don't really need to look at anything else other than, you know, maybe getting your sounds together, you know, like, and if you want to get kits or make your own kits, or, you know, let's say the fact that we can stem out a whole song right now is crazy, you know, because you really don't, you can have a couple tracks, stem them out, and now you got drums, you have a vocal, you have all of these different things that you can technically sample and make a beat out of, you know? Um, so there's just so many options that, you know, can lead you into a certain path in a certain direction. So from artist to artist, beat maker to beat maker, I just really wanted to make this video because I know how I started out. You know, I started out, you know, I watched a lot of tutorials, you know, which was great. You know, I needed to figure out the machine, but at the end of the day, you know, after watching an hour video on somebody else making beats, I was like, well, maybe it's time for me to go in the basement and actually make a beat. You know, like they say, if you're gonna lose weight, you know, and you're saying it, you know, don't, you know, some might pick up a book, but don't pick up a book, just do the push-up, you know, do the sit-up. So, you know, it's just about the reps. This machine, uh, changed my life, and I hope it changes yours. So if you're on the fence about getting an MPC-1, if it seems daunting, uh, or MPC in general, I would just tell you, are you willing to put in the time? That's all that matters. You know, are you fast paced? You know, are you trying to be like McDonald's, through the drive through, or do you want the fine dining experience? You want the big steak, you want, you know, you want the a la carte, you want the mac and cheese on the side. You know, that's just gonna be the difference and what type of artist you will become on this machine, you know. And I say time, you know, give yourself time, give yourself patience. You know, when you're making beats, sometimes you get tired, you know, the machine will tell you if you're tired or not, because it's going to test your patience, you know, because it's not work. Once you get in your groove, once you find that rhythm that I'm talking about, your BPM, um, but this machine will tell you if you're tired, and then it's going to be up to you. Okay, do I stop? Do I put this down right now, go into the next room, come back tomorrow, and do it all over again? Or do I sludge through it? You know, sometimes sludging through it is a good and a bad thing. You know, when I'm tired, sometimes I know, okay, I got time, right? I know this first beat is going to be whatever it is. It might be a classic. It might be my anthem, right? But that second and third beat, I know, okay, once I kind of kick off the rust, if there's any rust there, I know that those beats are going to be better than the first. But still, at the end of the day, I'm gonna get everything that I want out of it, because when it comes to music and art in general, as they say, the cliche term, you know, art is never finished, and it's just like that with with music and making it. You know, these loops that we make, these tracks or songs that we make, especially now, you know, not only can you sample yourself and turn them into different things, you know, make music on top of music. But now the fact that, you know, if you're into AI, you can grab this beat or this loop or your vocal, throw it into AI and turn it into something different. You can genre, you can genre mash, and, you know, you got a hip hop beat that you want a rock element to, or you got, you know, a rock beat that you want it to be like rock and country mixed with, you know, funk. Like, AI can help you do that as well. You know, you can also sample off of AI. I do a lot of that. I sample off of Soul Chop Records. It's a record label that I started, and it's basically, you know, soul music. It's my tribute to Motown, which, you know, I'll eventually talk about that as well. So I just wanted to make this video once again, just to, if you're on a rope about the MPC, even moving from, let's say, a DAW to the MPC, I would say get the MPC. You know, I started kind of like an FL, not too much luck, honestly. I made I probably made 100 beats, I would probably say, off of FL. And I don't know, man. Hitting the pads compared to clicking the mouse are two different experiences. This machine, it allows you to be DAWless. It allows you to, uh, let's say, once you get your systems in place, it allows you not to have to be looking through folders, and you're still going to do some of that, but once everything's in place, and let's say the work part is done, and you set up everything and where you know where to find stuff quickly, man, there's no process like it. You're literally hitting pads. You become one with the machine. The harder you hit the pads or soft, however you set your velocities up, um, it's so dope. You know. So yeah, thank you. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. This is honest, genuine video. I just thought that I wish I did have, but I wish more people would spread messages like this. And there's nobody else to do it but me. I'm in this process where I'm looking in and projecting out, and I'm trying to make this microphone my sword. So thank you for watching. Play dirty, stay dirty, and yeah, thanks for tuning in. Peace.